Metaphormic conflict resolution. Earlier videos we have provided include introduction, set creation, and use and features of the extension. In these videos we have mentioned that set activation includes monitoring set priority, that the active set lists are presented in priority order. In these set lists, Scratchpad and in the metaphormic icon menu, the highest priority active set is on top, and then any other active sets are listed in decreasing priority. A bit of background on the issue. One of the many strengths of metaphormic is the ability to layer various experts' guidance when crafting a message, post, article, email, or other electronic communication. These layers are individual sets, each of which may be produced by such an expert. Each set, created independently by different people, may sometimes include the same term as another set, but with different guidance. Should the metaphormic parsing engine encounter a term that is identified in multiple active sets, it is unlikely that all the sets using that term are going to include the same guidance, that is, use, don't use, and substitutions along with annotations associated with these. By default, the metaphormic interfaces present highlighting and annotation guidance based on the highest priority set that includes the identified term. In some situations, you may desire to see all the options associated with the term across all active sets. This full, detailed information is available in the Scratchpad and in X-ray mode. In native mode, we'll give some summary information about conflicts as well. To demonstrate this, we have published two sets, Conflict 1 and Conflict 2. These sets each have the same three terms, but different action substitutions. And to demonstrate the cooperation with other sets, we'll also use a third set. We'll start with the set we used from the last video, Sexual Assault Discussion, a beginning set. So we launch the Scratchpad using the control on the upper right hand side. What may be not so clear is how you activate sets in the Scratchpad. It's this little gear symbol in the lower left hand corner. Below the gear symbol you'll see a list of sets that are active. In this case, Sexual Assault Discussion, a beginning set, is already active. We click the gear symbol and you'll get a dialog that lists all published sets. We'll now activate the conflicting sets, but we'll do it in the order to get what we like, in the sense that we'll click Conflict 2 first, and then Conflict 1, which makes Conflict 1 the most recently activated set. We close this dialog and you'll see that the sets are listed down here in priority order. Conflict 1, the most recently activated set, is first. Conflict 2, the second most recently activated, and Sexual Assault Discussion, a beginning set, is third. Now with these additional sets active, we'll enter the terms. I believe you. It's highlighted as it was before with a green underline, and then term 1, term 2, and term 3 are the three terms that are defined in both Conflict 1 and Conflict 2, and you see that they are underlined as well. But what is different is that conflicting terms have a double underline. It may be subtle to see, but you'll see here that term 1 double underline, term 2 is double red underline, and term 3 is double yellow underlined. In other respects, the interface looks the same as it did in the earlier videos, except for the information down here in the lower right hand corner. More sets with this term, and so you see if we highlight term 1, it shows that Conflict 1 and Conflict 2 both have the set, and it gives you a hint that Conflict 1 is a use because it's identified in green, and Conflict 2 is a red and it's identified as in red, so it's a don't use. And if you click on these down here, the advice in the right hand column changes, and it tells you that it's don't use it, and just information for testing that it's the first term from the second conflict set is the annotation to confirm that we're getting that information guidance. Because when we click Conflict 1, It's the first term in the first conflict set. Similarly, the double underline don't use, it's don't use because conflict 1 is active, highest priority, and it has defined term 2 as don't use. However, conflict 2 set, which is also active but lower priority, has defined it as a use word, and so we can click on that and get some guidance as to why that set creator has identified term 2 as a use word, in what context that might be appropriate. And in term 3 we get the same kind of information, except we'll see that as before we have different substitutions. The default substitutions are from conflict 1, but if we hit conflict 2 we'll see that the substitutions have changed, and so we see the substitutions that are available from these additional conflicting sets. If we changed the priority order, the default would change. In other words, we would see, well, let's try it. We should see term 1 be red, term 2 be green, and term 3 also yellow, but the default should be 1 sub and 2 sub instead of sub 1 and sub 2. So let's try that. We click the set, and to change the priority to 2 to be the most, we just simply deactivate it and reactivate it, and now conflict 2 is the most recently. You see that we confirm that here, conflict 2, conflict 1. We copy all text and paste it back in, and what we suspected would happen is confirmed. Term 1 is now in red, term 2 is now in green, and term 3 still has substitutions, but now it's 1 sub and 2 sub as the default options. Notice that priority isn't indicated in the lower right hand side. You just have to check on these and see that conflict 2 is the default, which when we click on it we confirm that, and when we want to see what's available in conflict 1 we click on that and see that that has changed. We also see the differences in the native mode in Twitter. I have the same sets active. We confirm that in the icon, and we see that conflict 1 is highest priority, conflict 2 is second highest priority, and sexual assault discussion is the same as the lowest priority of the 3 active sets. The same set of terms are entered into the Twitter window, and you see a single underline for I believe you. And however, when we hover over term 1, the dialog looks a little different in the sense that it says that the guidance you're getting is from conflict 1, gives you the annotation for that, but it also tells you that the term is found in a number of other sets. In this case, it tells you that it's one more set. It gives you the same with term 2 and term 3. You notice that the sub 1, sub 2 are available directly here if you want to make the substitution, but it also caution that the term is defined in multiple sets, which we can then click on the See More, which launches the X-ray mode, and we can see that conflict order, priority order, and we can then see that term 1 is also defined in conflict 2 as a don't use term with some guidance on that term. This concludes this video on metaphormic conflicts. Thank you for watching and enjoy.